When I first started getting into heavy metal, I cannot tell you how much it blew my mind to learn that heavy metal could be educational? Iron Maiden is famous for this, as they based many of their songs on historical events. Such is the case with songs like Run to the Hills being about the arrival of the Europeans to the American continent, or The Trooper being a song from the perspective of an English soldier in the Battle of Balaclava in 1854. There are a ton of songs based on historical events or classic literature. I don't know how good of a replacement these songs are as educational tools, but what I appreciate is that these songs could be the gateway that'll get listeners interested in history and make them want to learn more. I first got into Mago de Oz through their album La Leyenda de la Mancha, which was a rock opera version of Don Quixote, with the explicit purpose of getting young audiences to be interested in this seminal Spanish novel because, in the drummer's own words,
cuando yo dije, ¿cuál es el libro, por lo menos en España, que siempre nos obligan a leer, que es el libro más internacional del mundo, que es el Quijote? Y no hay Dios que se lo lea. Yo no sé acá en Latinoamérica, pero en España se obliga a leer a gente que todavía no está preparada para leer ese tipo de libros. Yo creo que un niño con 12 años es más fácil que se adentre a la literatura leyendo algo de Harry Potter antes que leyendo a Shakespeare. No me parece normal que niños de 11 12 años los lleves a un museo, al Museo del Louvre, al Museo del Prado, a ver pinturas que son frutas en una cesta o señoras rollizas bailando con ramas. No, enséñale cómics, enséñale algo que le llame la atención a él y le metes poco a poco en el mundo de la ilustración. Y luego cuando esa persona ya se haya metido en el mundo de la ilustración, le dices, vale, y esto lo empezaron estos señores. Y le llevas ya y le enseñas a Goya, le enseñas a Velázquez, le enseñas a Van Gogh, a todo lo que tú quieras. Entonces, eso es lo que intenté hacer con La Leyenda de la Mancha.
At minimum, it's a great entryway for learning made in an easily digestible way. And at its best, songs like these can teach you about parts of history you were never taught. Such is the case for today's subject, Abak. Abak is a band I've been really getting into lately. The song that introduced me to the band was Santa Rosa, which is about the battle against the invading American force that took place in Santa Rosa, Guanacaste in 1856. Mae, si están viendo esto, por favor remastericen esa canción. I also recommend their song Nosara, which on the surface is a beautiful love ballad, but it's about an indigenous princess and the legend on how the village got its name. Their crowning magnum opus, however, I'd say is El Canto de las Lapas, featuring Spanish heavy metal singer Zeta. El Canto de las Lapas is a 9-minute rock opera epic about the indigenous uprising against the Spanish colonizers led by the Sunisa king Pablo Presbere. Abak, through their music, made me appreciate my country, its culture, and its history in ways I wouldn't have otherwise. And this seems to be their raison d'etre. The name Abak comes from the Bribri word sabak, which means drum. Abak is also the name of the band's mascot character who received this drum from Cebu, the creator god in Talamancan mythology, and he becomes a nomad compiling and retelling the stories of Costa Rica. As you can tell, Abak is a rich band, which is why I always get excited when they announce a new project, which leads us to their newest album, Abya Yala. Released on September 19, 2025, Abya Yala is an ambitious concept album. Abya Yala comes from the Guna, meaning mature land, and it is used by many indigenous American people to refer to the American continent. The name reflects the symbolic and ideological rejection of neoliberal globalization, as well as the reaffirmation of indigenous peoples' rights to territorial autonomy. Why would Abak evoke this name? Well, he's gone international. The concept of this album is about recounting myths and folklore from all of Abya Yala. Not just lyrically, but musically too, as Abak has both infused rock into local folk music, but has recruited local bands and artists for each song. It's an ambitious, culturally rich project with much promise. And what better way to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month than to look at Abya Yala? I think Abak did a good job at bringing this project together. The album is a wonderful collage of rhythms and sounds from all around the continent, infused with a rock and metal twist. I was a little confused to see a song they had released a year ago, Balam, be one of the tracks in this album, but I suppose that's how long it took to make. I don't mean that as a negative. For an indie self-produced band like Abak, this is an arduous feat. Not to mention the scope of this project is massive, as they collaborated with artists from Chile, Colombia, Panama, Guatemala, Peru, etc. The title track alone has 8 guest artists. Philosophically, Abya Yala, both the song and the album, is about cultural unity. We're all Abya Yala, and this is reflected through the music, as mentioned earlier, the lyrics, and their collaborators. If the mission statement of Abya Yala was to make an album that celebrates our cultural roots while sharing them with others in a manner that may inspire curiosity and desire to learn, I'd say the album was a resounding success. As ambitious and admirable as this album was, however, it's not without its issues. I've sung this band's praises from here to high heaven, but the reality is that Abak are quite hit or miss for me. The thing is that when they hit, they hit. It's not that the songs that miss are bad, but rather are memorable. And this is a problem that permeates even their B-tier songs. Abya Yala, to me, consists mainly of A and B-tier material. However, more concretely, I mentioned that Abak seemed to be self-produced, and you can see those cracks showing throughout the album. Let's look at the title track, Abya Yala, as an example. The vocals are way too loud in the mix. I will fully admit this is a pot calling the kettle black since I'm not great at recording and mixing vocals myself, but yeah, the vocals are not mixed great. Because there's so many, they sometimes overshadow the band itself, and weirdly enough, there are parts when it sounds like the backing vocals are louder than the lead. Also, some of the transitions are rough and needed a second draft, especially in this bit where they come from an acoustic break into a metal barrage. I'm sure if you look at the levels, everything is equalized, but to the audience's ear, the metal band, which should sound like an escalation, stronger and louder, ends up sounding like someone cranked down the volume. There is even a part where the singers were out of tune, and it's not a subtle blunder either. Abya Yala could have been one of those Abak S-tier songs, but the production issues bring it down a lot. Say what you want about the band, but if there's any band you can trust to be legit, it's them. After the album launched, they did a live stream where they talked about the album and behind the scenes stories, and in it they seem to imply they record every take from start to finish. While I don't think that leads to the best production, especially as fatigue starts setting in after several takes, this alone puts them on a level of musicianship higher than a lot of artists. This is all to say that all the pieces are there. The main issue with this album was the assembly. Abya Yala is a good album, problems and all. Some of the standouts to me are Abya Yala, Issues and All, Las Brujas de Burgama, El Cóndor Enamorado, and Galvarino. I have faith in Abak that whatever problems I do have, they'll continue to grow and improve as they've already demonstrated with the re-release of songs like El Canto de las Lapas and Nosara. Given the diverse and intense genre mixing, this could be a strange album to some and a little difficult to get into, but I still fully recommend you give Abya Yala a listen. Thank you very much for watching. What are your thoughts on Abya Yala? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this yatter, and hope to see you in the next one. Later.
Bun Abya Yala nare.